Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining me at Evolutionary Energy Arts once again. And so it's official. New York City has not seen snow like this in 130 years. All you naysayers that said, yeah, we had snow like this when I was growing up, well, not quite. It definitely was colder, probably, but not like what we got going now. And this is just the beginning. My friends, I was going to say we're just warming up, but it's actually the opposite. We're just starting to cool down. We are just starting to get going on this path. And so I feel for all of you that are still up in the Northeast and up in the North in general. And we are all going to have things to deal with no matter where we are living as far as, weather change. For sure. Wherever we are, things are going to be changing. Nothing is going to be staying the same. And this is just the beginning of the Earth finding its new cycle. It's not even that we're going to a new cycle yet. It's searching for it. So New York City has not seen snow like this in 130 years. Dulles, this is Washington, D.C., hits record snowfall, doubling previous records set in 1964. We have a mass whale stranding at Hamlin Bay in Western Australia. And this is also, it could be attributed to the poles moving, for sure. We know that the whales use their inner guidance on where they're going. And if you remember, it should be on the front page, the video I have where it references the fact that Australia is moving as a continent so fast to the northwest that they're having to reset the GPS. And the video yesterday, we touched on the fact that the NOAA came out with a notice saying, just simply if you're up in the northern hemisphere, it's not going to be right. It's gone past the acceptable amount of deviation because the core of the Earth is changing so rapidly that they're not able to keep up with it. So at some point, as we've been saying, well, you won't even have GPS because at some point the shields are going to go down enough, the magnetosphere is going to decline enough that we're going to end up with rolling blackouts. And you might not have anything available to you for prolonged periods of time. So we have to be ready for this. And I hate to see this type of thing happen to whales, which are such beautiful creatures. But unfortunately, this is going to be something that is more the norm. And we're in a transition, a complete transitory state right now. So we have winter, and it's not going down without a fight. Last night's snowfall broke Louisville, Kentucky records. Storm winds down as Lehigh Valley's snow totals break local records. You don't even have to really go looking for this stuff. It's everywhere. Philly has second snowiest March on record. More chances for snow this month. Easter weather forecast. UK set for coldest April on record. Britain could be faced with a bitter Easter weekend as easterly winds plague the nation and plunge the country back into winter chaos. Could it be the coldest April on record? Very, very good chance. And this one is saying basically the same thing. Brace for a white Easter. Forecasters warn of an Arctic blast from Scandinavia that could send temperatures plummeting over the holiday weekend with snow possible. So odds are you're going to have a white Easter over there in the UK, and it's going to be very, very cold. Now what we have hit in California is record-breaking rain, and the worst is yet to come. And there are mudslides that are being feared, debris flows from that powerful Pacific storm. And so you're getting it on both coasts. And this is from the Watchers. Major flooding is cyclical rather than random, new research says. Of course, everything, when you get down to it, ends up getting tied to sun cycles for the most part. It's all about what the sun does. There's a reason why the ancients viewed the sun as a god. They realized, and they were much more in tune with things than we are. In our modern world, we're so disconnected from nature. And that's part of the problem. Indigenous people can just simply tell you by what they feel, see, and sense in the earth, when a storm is coming, when changes are coming. They could tell, they could feel, they're in tune with the earth. And in our world, our Western culture, we've gotten so out of touch with the earth. And they knew that everything was cyclical. And hence, you see spirals written on, drawn in caves. Well, the spiral is how things run. We always thought in the West, things are a straight line. You start at point A, you pass point B, you pass point C, you end up at point D. Well, the ancients knew it's rather than a straight line, it's a spiral. It's a spiral. So we go through these cycles on a regular, repeated basis. This is how nature progresses. It's a beautiful thing when we start to understand that, because then we understand where we've been, where we are, and where we're heading. And we understand it in more ways than one. We start to look at things in much more of a homogeneous way, and also in a more complete way, in a holistic way. And we realize that this is all tied into consciousness, and this is all tied into where we are emotionally, spiritually, mentally, as well as what's happening physically. The physical is a manifestation of other things that are of a higher vibratory rate. So again, we're referencing as above, so below, that we referenced in yesterday's video. There are so many things that are just right there for us to see and to understand when we really start to decipher what's going on. So this study was talking all about Australia, and so again, it's tied into sun cycles, and the sun cycles lead to changes that we see going on right now, and many ice ages and ice ages. And then of course we do have our effect on the earth, and West Texas oil patch is heaving and sinking at alarming rates as more fracking is being done. And there's really no reason for this. Yes, it has led to, fracking has led to the U.S. Leading actually the world in oil production now, but we're going to be paying the price for it, and this is part of it. And really we can have renewable energy resources going on, solar, wind, as well as hidden energy, which they keep away from us and don't let the public know about. But even if we were just simply to use solar and wind more, we would be in much, much better shape, let alone that which is hidden. Because what we know for sure is that these fracking events that are going on everywhere, they do cause earthquakes. And like Oklahoma, for instance, is an area that didn't really have many earthquakes, historically, and now they have them every day. And I'm looking at 4 earthquakes in Oklahoma, just in the last 24 hours. And speaking of earthquakes, yes, there still is swarming going on in California, and it's progressing into Nevada. And we do have some quakes going on that are probably volcanic in origin, through the Yellowstone area and also up into Washington and Oregon. And one over that would be more tied into the New Madrid, but it probably is also, it's really shallow. It's 8.5 kilometers. This is probably another fracking quake over in Missouri. And then when we look out a little bit farther, Alaska still swarming like crazy, and we still have a ton of activity again on the plate over in the Caribbean. Some a little bit larger quakes going on now in Central America and Nicaragua, 4.4s, 4.6s, 4.4. much activity in Alaska, as is the case. It's been quieter in between Alaska and California. We did have the two off of Cascadia. We have some smaller ones over there as well. And then when we go over to the Western Pacific, we do see there was a pretty good sized one. They're showing it at 6.3 in Papua New Guinea at a depth of 35.8 kilometers. Some other sources were showing 6.6. Substantial earthquake. When we look over here in Fiji, we have a 5.2 and a 5.1. The 5.2 is more concerning because it's at 538.5 kilometers, so that's something that could end up causing larger quakes down the line, probably over towards South America, as the energy will progress and push. And that's something that we learn from Dutch's website. Great site on earthquakes that I've referenced many times. So we do have activity going on, and I would expect an uptick in some of the larger ones coming. You know, things can sneak up on us, and we have asteroid 2018 FQ3 that flew past the Earth at less than 1 lunar distance, 0.73 lunar distance, one day before discovery. So things could pop up and pop in real quick. You know, we do have a ton of satellites out there, but still things can slip by. And it's something to be aware of. And its diameter is somewhere between 5.1 and 11 meters. So not really a large one, but still it's just the fact that they can slip by undetected. This is a study out of Cornell University Library talking about a rapid cosmic ray increase in BC, 3372, 3371 BC. So, you know, we're talking about 5,300 plus to almost 5,400 years ago, that they learned from the tree rings showed basically rapid cooling because of a cosmic ray increase. And we know what's happening now. Well, the magnetosphere is declining. So magnetosphere declining, cosmic ray increase, rapid decrease in temperature. It's just a natural progression of the way things go. And so when we look at different sun cycles, we can realize that what we are in for is going to be quite a cooling. And the solar cycles between 1749 and what they're estimating out to be 2040, the cooling that's coming is going to be more intense than the Little Ice Age or the Dalton Minimum. So we're in for something bigger. And again, as I've said before, the sun's activity is at a 9,300 year low. So that's a lot. I mean, that's a long time, and that's right now. So when it drops into the next solar cycle, where's it going to be at? Where? I mean, is it going to be at a 12,000 year low, 15,000 year low? Who knows? We don't know. We really don't know. Maybe it won't be much more than that 9,300 year low. But the fact is that where we're at now is definitely a point of concern. So the temperatures are going to catch up. And I think, you know, when next month comes, people are going to be questioning even more. I mean, I'm hearing it now, because here we are in beautiful Southwest Florida, and, you know, it's very pleasant sleeping with the window open and having it be about 48 degrees overnight, but that's not normal. That's not typical. And all the locals that have been here 20 and 30 years or more, all their lives, are telling me, yeah, I've never seen this before. So, and that's just here. You know, I'm thankful I'm here and no longer in Connecticut or Ohio, you know, where it's even colder. And when we get to June and people are waiting for their, you know, nice warm weather to toast up, and it's not quite as warm as we expect, and we have these cycles, you know, that perhaps make you, maybe you're in Connecticut and it feels more like you're in northern Maine, then people are going to really know, you know, what's going on here. I mean, you're going to have people really questioning things more and more. And more people are questioning things all the time. And I wish it was simply a case of we're going into just another mini ice age, little ice age. We can see when we look at, the last 4,500 years or so, I mean, it's a normal cyclical thing. It's what happens. It's all basically triggered by the sun. Again, referencing why the ancients viewed the sun as a god, because the sun controlled everything. The sun cycles led to cycles in the earth, and periods of warmth and abundance and great crops, and periods of little ice ages, which leads to food disruptions, and which leads to people coming into your area and trying to take your resources because they're starving and they're hungry. When we start talking about Middle Ages and earlier, when we were in more of those times, people would start raiding and plundering. And so it still happens. It still happens right now. It's happening right now, as far as the raiding and the plundering. There's countries and other countries right at the moment militarily and taking their precious natural resources, unfortunately. And we have to change that mindset. And this is an interesting little article just talking about the death knell of the euro as European nations repatriate gold. And if you haven't been paying attention to what's going on, in times of uncertainty and trouble, everybody always gravitates to gold and silver and tangible things like that. And I think we might even go one notch past that to more tangible things like actual crops, seeds, water, and perhaps hopefully we could get past the systems that we have right now. So this is basically talking about what's going on in the world economically. The latest trend among European countries of bringing home gold, their gold reserves, has been raising concerns in Brussels. And this is out of Russia Today. So I talked to Claudio Grass of the Precious Metal Advisory in Switzerland to understand what's behind the trend. According to Grass, the process means disintegration, which usually comes with instability, unrest, more government intervention, and control. The central banks started the repatriation already a few years ago, meaning before we had Brexit, Catalonia, Trump, AFD, or the rising tensions between the Politburo in Brussels and the nations of Eastern Europe. These are all symptoms that are evident today, and therefore the central banks might have seen this coming long before the public realized it. He said it's fair to say that the world is moving away. The world is moving away from a centralized system. That's a big statement. The world is moving away from a centralized system. If we follow this trend, it should be obvious that the next step will be an even bigger breakup into smaller units than the nation states. Smaller than the nation states. So that movement that we've had towards a one world order that's been being pushed on us, there's pushback coming from the opposite direction because of what everybody is feeling is on the horizon. With such geopolitical fragmentation also comes the decentralization of power. Analysts have pointed out that EU countries see gold as insurance in case they end up returning to their national currencies. According to Grass, only a fool believes you can create wealth out of nothing and use that as a basis for a sustainable system. Our system is based on 7% paper notes and 93% digital units. 7% paper notes. Can you imagine if there's a run on banks? If you're part of that lucky 7%, you might actually get something in your hand. The 93% are going to get nothing because it's not even there. They could start printing like crazy, and then we have hyperinflation. He explained that in the Western world, the government is forcing people to give up between 35 and 65% of their income and put it into mandatory vehicles such as pension funds, retirement insurances, taxes, and so on. If you take away 100% of a person's fruits of labor, it's defined as slavery. So there is some room, but it doesn't look good either. We are pretty close to slavery when you think about it. And 35 to 65% of your income put into mandatory vehicles, it's not all going into your pension funds. It's not all going into Social Security. No. We just had another big increase in military expenditure. And that's crazy, when the world is facing what we're facing. We don't need more guns and bullets to shoot each other. And let's hope that those guns and bullets and missiles and all that stay on the shelves and stay stocked away. What good are they doing stocked away? What good are they doing, killing other people when we're going to be facing food shortages? When we're going to be facing housing crises, because people are going to have to move from really cold areas, the areas that aren't going to be able to be livable anymore, to other areas. And you're going to have a mass migration of people that you haven't seen before. And meanwhile, we're spending so much money on weapons to kill each other that hopefully, and this would be thankfully, will never be used. But still, it's time, money, effort, and resources put into something that is a complete waste when people are not going to have food, when people are going to have new housing. This is crazy. So he added that the accelerating disintegration of the Eurozone and a more nationalistic and right-wing parties popping up that have a clear policy that's going against the EU. It's just a matter of time before the euro, the most artificial currency ever, is going to collapse. So, and that's just the euro. I mean, we're going to see this in other levels. You're going to see nations collapsing from within, as I've talked about in other videos, because these nations are artificial. And you could tell. I mean, is life in Kansas the same as life in LA? Does it make any sense? Does somebody that's a farmer in Kansas really have the same concerns as somebody that's in LA or New York? The morals, the values, everything is totally different. The way we view life is totally different. So as things deteriorate, people will break down into smaller and smaller units, and we're going to be going back to a more tribal society. And that's just the way it is. We're going to be basically going into what we found coming out of the last ice age. Pockets of people living together in a more tribal society. Global food shortages are a growing U.S. security concern. Well, why are we talking in terms of U.S. security concern? Global food shortages are a humanitarian concern for the entire world. So, I mean, why are we talking fear talk? Because when you're talking security concern, you're talking fear. And they're trying to manipulate you through fear by talking this way. Yeah, we need to worry about global food shortages. We need to do it because it's the right thing to do, and we need to take care of our family members, and that's the whole human race. We need to make sure everybody is provided for. It doesn't mean that we are all going to slave away and pay taxes and let maybe 10% of those taxes, if we're lucky, go to actually helping people that need help. No, we could work out systems that are directly a direct interface, and we don't need people in the middle that are going to leech off of society and then become multimillionaires and billionaires leeching off of the masses like they have done. We don't need that. We need to get rid of that type of system, class. It's just not good. So what can we do? What can you do if you're in the inner city? There's a gentleman named Ron Finley, and I'll have the link to all these stories and info, as always, on the video. And this guy is the gangsta gardener. And he's a true inspiration, and he's got the right idea. What's he doing in all these blank lots that nothing's happening? Just, these empty lots, they're putting gardens. And they're putting gardens that are intended to feed the poor and the homeless. And this is in LA. And he wants to do this on a bigger level. He wants to get this out there into, the urban communities all across the country, and then maybe all across the world. And this is just one man's vision, and this is a great vision. And this is the type of thing we need to be doing. We don't need to be having companies coming and spraying our lawns with toxic chemicals that run off into the rainwater. We don't need blank lots that are just, full of trash and garbage. Why don't we plant gardens? Why don't we actually feed the poor for free? Do you know how many people donate money and donate time and effort to help the poor and the homeless? There's a ton of people doing that. If we could actually get local governments on board with this, instead of going and arresting people that are trying to feed the homeless. I mean, that's something that's happened here in Florida. People have been arrested for having cookouts and basically giving away hot dogs and hamburgers to the homeless. That's just crazy because it's against local ordinances. That makes me want to swear like there's no tomorrow, and I don't usually swear, because it's just so completely messed up. Government is supposed to be by and for the people and allowed by the people. We don't need to allow that type of policing where we're going to actually arrest or give people fines for having a free cookout for the poor and the homeless. That's freaking crazy. And whoever is putting these laws into effect needs to be kicked out, and we need to make sure that type of mindset doesn't exist. This is part of everything that's wrong with this planet right now. We need more guys like Ron Finley out there that are going to make the push. When you have wasted land that's just sitting there and it's an eyesore, why not put something on it that's going to provide food for people? There is no reason for there to be any hunger in this world at all. None. Zilch. And it wouldn't take much effort at all. It just takes organization. So please check out his website and see if you could get some ideas if you're living in an urban environment. We need to band together and work together. And we need to look at healthy alternatives that don't harm ourselves as well as the environment. I mean, I run into friends all the time and might be over their house, and then they'll whip out Lysol or they'll whip out some things that are full of toxic chemicals, and they're loading themselves up with all these toxic chemicals. And I'll be like, have you ever heard of essential oils, for instance? And essential oils are something I got into when my son was born. And I'll share with you, when he had to go to school, and I was really against getting the immunizations, and I argued with my wife about it, and we did go ahead, and I gave in, and we got him immunized. And as soon as he got stuck with those needles, he ended up developing asthma, allergies. His whole immune system changed. He was so healthy up to the age of 5. And then all of a sudden, chronic asthma, chronic allergies, and I know it was the immunizations. So I ended up learning about these, and I would use a blend of tea tree, eucalyptus, and peppermint oil in a diffuser, and that helped an awful lot. I had that going all the time in his room. Sometimes when things got, tougher for him, put a little towel over his head and have him breathe it in directly, and it really, really helped. Tea tree is so antiviral. I use it in the bath myself, and yes, I love taking hot baths with tea tree oil in it. Good stuff. Guys can bathe. Gentlemen out there, it's okay to take a bath. And you know what? I won't tell on you if you even want to light some candles and put some soft music on. Doesn't mean you're gay or effeminate or anything like that. If you go ahead, put some candles on, take a hot bath, pamper yourself. Guys, it's okay. It's good. It's a way to detox. If you take a nice warm bath and you sweat it out, you're detoxing the body. That's so healthy. Lavender is also a great essential oil for detoxing as well. So I use them all the time. And I'm not plugging any products. I'm just telling you guys, this is a natural way of getting healing and using something that's natural, that's not going to harm you or the environment. And we are loaded with toxic chemicals. We are loaded with toxic chemicals in this industrialized Western society. Why do you think the sperm rates have decreased by 60% since the 40s? We're loaded with chemicals. It's in the rain. It's in the water everywhere. We can't help it. We've been so plagued by it from these giant companies like Monsanto. These evil giant companies that do not care about our health. They only care about profits. There's a great website I want you guys to check out too when you get a chance. It's called Insteading, and it's got some really interesting articles, research on gardening, animals, building, energy, homestead life, things that could get you thinking about, how do I live in what's coming, and alternatives. And something that was introduced to me by a very special person is Earthbag homes. And I hadn't heard of them before, though I have seen them. I actually ran into one when I was hiking in New Mexico, and it looked very similar to what is on this page right here on insteading.com. And very, very cool. Very cool. Very affordable, because what you do is you use the soil that's right there on the property that you're building to go ahead, fill the bags, and basically they become the walls of the home. And then you use adobe to put it all together and give it a nice surface. And it's very strong. They are very, very strong, very solid, very eco-friendly, very cheap. I was watching a video on a family of 4 building an Earthbag home, and I believe they were in California in the desert, and it cost them $7,000 to build the home. $7,000. So think about cost effective. So if you guys could get yourselves a lot and build something like this, you might have your bug out property all set for maybe 10 grand. Very affordable, very eco-friendly, and very practical. Such cool ideas. Very, very, very cool ideas. And this is done all over the world. The Earthbag homes are definitely rising in popularity, and this is really what I'm planning on doing. And actually, there was another lady I was watching a video of, and she's doing a whole community of these, because as people come into the project, they just basically build their own and go ahead and put it off on a different corner of the lot, and before you know it, you have a whole community going. And this one I was watching, they were putting it pretty deep down. They were starting like around 6-7 feet deep down. And when you're in the desert, it might be 110 degrees, up on the surface. If you just go down like 6-7 feet like that, it's going to be so much cooler. And it's going to stay a pretty consistent temperature year round. So it's kind of like a natural way to air condition your home, and then of course it'll stay a little bit warmer as well when it gets really cold at night. So very, very interesting thing to look into, and I will definitely encourage you guys to go check it out more. So as always, my friends, thumbs up helps support the channel. Thank you all so much. The channel has been growing very, very fast, and we have to reach as many people as possible as quickly as we could. So please do share these videos. Share as much as you can to wake up people to the possibilities. Don't fear the earth changes that are coming. They are coming. Yes, we are going into at least a mini ice age. We are in the process of a pole shift, which I believe is way more important than the mini ice age, which is coming. And because the pole shift has the potential to really change things even more. And we will at some point come out of this mini ice age, whether or not it's in your lifetime, my lifetime, the lifetime of our grandkids, great-grandkids. We don't even know. We really don't know, and it's all conjecture at this point. But what we need to do is get in harmony with the earth. We need to reclaim our spirituality. We need to reclaim our sense of community, our sense of oneness with each other and the earth. We need to make change and demand change from the idiot politicians that have been running this planet, and we need to kick those of the old mindset out as we progress into a more harmonious new time period on the planet. So as always, share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed for more updates, and thumbs up and like the channel. And I thank you guys so very, very much. Please leave comments. As always, I love the sharing. Share your ideas, share what you're doing, and as always, much love and light to you, my friends, and my extended Evolutionary Energy Arts family out there. Take care.